Okay, yeah, it's just time to dive into it and see what we can get built here. I'd like to just take a moment to talk about how things are set up right as we sit here right now. The retailer that I have available to me is Memory Express. I buy a lot of parts from them. They're, I would consider, the best retailer in the area that I live, and they've been really good. When I purchase parts, depending on what I buy, they provide additional service right at the time of purchase. And one of the things that they do is if I buy a motherboard or with a processor and some memory and an M.2, they will seed it all for me and make sure that the drivers are all updated and give it a quick test to make sure it all works. And it's something I can do easily myself, but it is really nice when you're in the store making a purchase like this, especially at the price that these parts can cost, to know that when you leave, everything worked well together and that everything is up to date and ready to go. And that's something Memory Express does for their customers, and I really appreciate it. So I want to thank them for providing that service and peace of mind that comes with it. Because of that, the motherboard already has the processor, the memory, and the first M.2 that was installed on it. The things that we have to change though at this stage are I need to move the original M.2 that I bought down into the lower M.2 slot and install the Samsung 980 Pro into the top slot. So it's just one little change that's being made to it, but it just has to get done. The shouldn't affect anything, or I should say it's a good idea to always put your boot drive into the best slot, the top slot. Wanted to be able to make changes and upgrade this system as easily as possible. And that's the main reason I went with, and I'm going to say it properly this time, the Rosewill. It's just a slip of the tongue that I keep saying Rosehill. So just be patient with me, and eventually I'll say things correctly. So there you go. We've got the motherboard set up with the storage devices in the way that I want to do them. And next stop, I guess, is going to be taking and removing the backplate and the hold downs for the CPU cooler. The one that I'm probably going to use, and I think is going to do very well, is the Noctua, the NH-D9L. It's a little bit lower profile than the other coolers, but first and foremost, it's Noctua. It's going to work really well. It's going to do a very good job of cooling. I've never built on this motherboard before, so I'm not 100% sure what the clearance is going to be like with the VRM heatsinks. As you can see, they're fairly substantial on the ProArt board, and we're just going to have to try it, I think, and see how it works. So let's pop it open. We'll set this guy over here. One of the things about Noctua that everybody talks about is the color of the fans. They are ugly, but they work. They're always very good fans, and you know, in a case like this, who cares what it looks like? Because once it's put together and the system's up and running, nobody's going to see it. And the other reason I'm considering this, even though I have the space for a bigger cooler, I know with the Arctic, it just cleared the case that I built in previously. So a little bit more space. I was always scared that it was going to cause some kind of a vibration, which would create noise, but it never did. And this guy, as I said, is lower profile, using a smaller fan, and it should not touch the top of the case at all when it's put together. So the oh, not a problem. Lots of clearance. I think that's going to be perfect. Okay, so it's just time to get out the hardware and start putting this guy together. Golden rule again, don't just jump on the first screw and tighten it to infinity and beyond. Make sure you've got all your screws started, and then proceed by going back and forth between the screws to make sure that things are properly started and seating. And it's always a good idea to tighten it down evenly as you go. You don't want to put pressure on one side more than the other too much. It creates imbalances, and you can actually break things by creating uneven pressure. That's even on good products, they have limits to their materials and their manufacturing processes. And some may work very well while others won't. So just take your time and move back and forth between the screws. This is super simple because it doesn't have a whole bunch of different fasteners. You're just working with 2 screws, so just take your time. A little bit of patience now can save you a lot of headaches later. Now, I know this video is probably going to be way longer than what I should be uploading. So it's going to be a step-by-step, and I'm hoping to release them in short order. A video a day, perhaps for the next little bit as we build this guy. I've been trying to keep my video length to 10 minutes, and but these are the kind of things where it takes longer than 10 minutes, and as much as I could speed things up and super speed or fast forward, there's things that I want to talk about because that's why I'm doing this. It's to share one of my passions with other people. And so yeah, I don't want to fast forward through all of it. Yeah, it looks small, I will admit. But size doesn't always matter. It's what it delivers as far as cooling. Just going to back the screws off just slightly. And as I back them off, you can see that the head of the screw goes a little bit back and forth. So with a little bit of extra slack, there should be room to get the screwdriver down inside the edges here. Voila! So that I can re-snug the cooler. We'll just clip the fan brackets into place. Like I said, biggest thing is don't force it. A little bit of pressure is okay, but too much is never a good thing. There we go. Just give them ever so slightly a little bit of a snugging. Like I say, we've got good pressure. It's spring loaded. Okay. Just a little bit more light on the situation. There we go. And that's just because of my age and the necessity to read little wee writing that they use when they're printing onto the motherboards requires that a little more light for me sometimes. There we go. Now, even though looks are not the most important thing, we'll try and tuck the cable down out of sight, out of mind. One trick that I learned long ago is sometimes if a cable doesn't want to lay precisely the way you want, just giving it a little bit of a twist, a quarter turn, a half a turn, will create the necessary and required pressure to get it to sit down properly. So there we go. We now have the M.2s, the CPU, the memory, and the cooler all mounted on the motherboard. The next step is pulling out the case from the server rack. It's currently sitting in there, and opening it up, making sure we have the proper standoffs for this side of motherboard ready to go, and get ready to slap the motherboard into the case. So we'll be back with that shortly.